Good morning. Let's kindly rise for the procession of convocation.
Shall we pray? Our Heavenly Father, we thank you this morning. We thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for the many blessings that you have showered on this young university. We thank you for a day like this, where we celebrate and honor one of our great achievers. We pray for your presence, O God, for the beginning, through the session, and end with us. And in the end, will not fail to give you all the glory. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen. Please be seated. The Vice Chancellor, Professor Lydia Ziato, the Pro-Vice Chancellor, Tagbor Professor Tagbor III, the Chairman of the University Council, His Lordship Justice Jones Victor Maulem Doche, members of the University Council, Tobio, Mamao, Convocation, deans, directors, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, invited guests, the media, good morning. I welcome you warmly to the Cedi Auditorium of the University of Health and Allied Sciences. Today is a historic day. We mark yet another milestone in the history of this university. One of us, Professor Harry Tagbor, also known as Tagbor Professor Tagbor III, is going to deliver his inaugural lecture today. As young as we are, today will be the 6th inaugural lecture in the history of this university. And we thank God for this great achievement. Professor Tagbor has over the years championed knowledge, excellence, and resilience. And today, we are going to listen to him as he walks us through his journey thus far to become a professor. He's going to enlighten us, he's going to inspire us, he's going to share knowledge in the field of malaria. And so you are warmly welcome. I am hopeful that by the time we leave here, you would have acquired some deep insights in academia, in the field of malaria, and others. On this note, I humbly welcome the Vice Chancellor to introduce to us our lecturer for the day. Thank you.
Good morning to all of us. I acknowledge here present our Chairman of Council and members of Council, Pro-Vice Chancellor, Registrar, our distinguished honored chiefs, Convocation, the family and friends of our distinguished lecturer, all invited guests here, acknowledge our dear students. To add on to what the registrar had just said, today is indeed a historic day. And I'm privileged to introduce our distinguished lecturer. In the life of an academic, attaining the professor is the last rank or promotion that we attain You may enter as an assistant lecturer or lecturer to senior lecturer, associate professor, and professor. So to get to the top professor, it's a very, very long journey. And all of us, we have our distinguished or special stories to tell on the journey to the professorial, as in professor level. Professors around the world, apart from their contribution to teaching, apart from their contribution to knowledge, is also international recognition they achieve. And today, our professor is going to tell us how he journeyed and what contributions he has made. So our professor that we all know as Professor Harry Tagbor is also called Matthew, and is also called Kwame because he was born on a Saturday. So Professor Tagbor is a professor of public health. He is a medical doctor, but specialized in public health. This means that all of us here, academics, must demonstrate the area that you are so that you can profess in that area. For the young early career researchers, this is important, that you tell us your area. Professor Tagbor schooled, if I say schooled, the ordinary level secondary school, was in Keta. Keta is near the sea, so I'm sure Professor walked barefooted on the sand, going to school up and down. When he passed his O-levels, he continued to Bishop Herman College. It's at Pando, am I right? Okay. So Professor was there. And the pictures that you see, I don't know who can distinguish Professor. Professor is the one in the middle for the first one. The one that is holding the waist like that is Professor. And then when you come to the second one too, is the one that has sugared himself like that. So you see, those days in the 80s, that was our professor. Then in 1993, he finished his medical school. If you look at it critically, you can see somebody sitting down smiling. Tagbor was there. And the way he has sugared his pocket, I don't know what he was thinking about. But maybe he was thinking about how he can cure people when he graduates from medical school. After that, he boarded a plane and went to UK for his PhD, which he completed in 2006 in the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. After all his education, what did he do? What has he contributed to the healthcare sector, to education, and to research? Tagbor in 1994 worked at the Agogo Presbyterian Hospital. Those of you who are going to Kumasi, the branch on the right, Agogo is down there in the, it's not in the bush, but it's there, it's down there. After that, he also went to Nkranza, St. Teresa's Hospital. And his work was so excellent that he was adjudged the best diocesan doctor in 1991. And the citation, those of us who would go to where we have mounted his exhibition, the citation they gave him at that time is also there for us all to see. And so for the young doctors who are coming up, my acknowledgement is that you need to do something extra for you to be recognized like our Tagbor did. When he finished his PhD, he joined academia. He started his journey at Kumasi, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, at the School of Medical Sciences, where he did a lot of things. He was appointed a clinical lecturer. He was a head of department. He founded a lot of initiatives. He led a lot of grants or research projects, clinical trials. And internationally, he led teams, not only in Ghana, but in Burkina Faso, Gambia, Ghana, Mali, etc. So you can see the international platforms that our professor worked. After all that, he was key in establishing the Center for Global Health Research at the Drabin Government Hospital. And this came to light in 2011. And that is still there, and even the structure is being used by other district health offices in the Ashanti region. I said that you start at a lecturer. He started as a clinical lecturer in 2006. So the journey continued until in 2016 when he attained associate professor. Then he became a full professor or professor in 2019 here at the University of Health and Allied Sciences. So after he became a professor, he was the dean of the School of Medicine during his associate professor and part of the professor. Then in 2021, he was appointed the Pro-Vice Chancellor of this rising giant, University of Health and Allied Sciences. That position gave him the platform to chair many boards and committees. And I'm very, very proud that he has been a pillar of support for me during my short tenure as the Vice Chancellor of this university. He's also a member of a steering committee for Malaria Research Capacity Development Consortium in the whole of West and Central Africa. That is why from the beginning I said to my faculty, the young ones, it is not only Ghana that we expect you to work. We expect your work to extend beyond the borders of this country. In terms of research, my professor's focus has been on epidemiology and control of malaria in children and pregnant women. And he's done a lot in this field. I'm sure that his lecture will give us insight into what he has been able to achieve over the period. And therefore, over the period, over 20 years, he has gained comprehensive experiences in collaborative research in malaria specifically. And so today, we'll be listening to mostly issues about malaria. And so to get this work done, he needed funding. And again, there is one area that as faculty members, as researchers, we need to put in a lot of effort. So Professor Harry Tagbor, also known as Tagbor III, has won a lot of grants. But the key ones were from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Wellcome Trust, EDCTP, DFID, PAT, NIH, and DFG. These grants were heavy grants that he used to conduct his research, the clinical trials, and all the accolades that he has achieved. So where is the evidence of this work? Those of us with smartphones, if you Google our professor's name right now, and say you go to Google Scholar, you you find that our professor's work has been cited over 3,000 times. 3,015. So this was taken, I think, about a week or so ago. I'm sure today the figure may be different. So we demonstrate the evidence of our work through these impact indices online. So we have various platforms and researchers that our work can show. And it means that our professor has done so well that over 3,000 researchers around the world, they referred to what he found in his studies. And this is what we are looking for. We are looking for professors that have demonstrated the impacts of their work. We were pleasantly surprised that last year, the traditional community of Cedi found our professor worthy of becoming a chief. And so we are here, and they came for him. And we are here, and they have come to support him. Yahweh Zolo. We thank you for recognizing the excellence of our professor to lead the KG stool or traditional area. And we want to thank you for this honor done our professor. I'm sure when you saw the 1983-93 pictures, and you saw our professor hanging the waist, you will wonder which woman will find him. But our beautiful mama is here. Mama, welcome. Found him and trusted him to journey along with him. And together, God blessed them with 3 beautiful daughters and a son. And they are all here with us, and we welcome them to this event. Briefly, what is Professor going to talk about? The topic for the lecture is, those of us with the L and R problem, maybe you cannot say it well, but because I took some tea this morning, I'll try to balance my tongue. Slippery, smart, and dangerous plasmodium. But our women are smarter. And I'm sure because I'm a woman, I'm very happy about this topic, that we are smarter. I refer you to the full biography or profile of our professor in the abstract, book of abstracts, or if you just scan the QR code that is available somewhere in this room, you'll find a full profile and abstracts and some of the papers that our professor published over the period. But in that abstract, I just picked a few key things that I found important. Our professor is going to tell us about the fact that 75% of infections are caused by the species Plasmodium falciparum. And so he's coming to talk about malaria, and I'm happy that he's coming to talk about this. Because we just had a global malaria course where we had about 36 countries represented in this university just about a week or so ago. In that abstract also, Professor noted that pregnant women and children under 5 years of age are the most vulnerable. Most vulnerable. So the topic that our women are smarter is the fact that we are vulnerable, especially when we are pregnant. And it's also highlighted in there that malaria in pregnancy is a major public health challenge in our parts of the world. So what is important for me in the abstract that you have, I'm just encouraging you to read the abstracts when you go home. It is important. There are a lot of information there. And in there, is saying that WHO recommended three-pronged approach to the control of malaria. Combination of preventive measures, early diagnosis, and treatment. I'm sure that his lecture will give us more insights, the conclusions that he had drawn over the years, and some of the recommendations he will give us over the 2 decades of work. On this note, I welcome you to the University of Health and Allied Sciences. For those of you coming to Ho for the first time, to the Oxygen City, and to this lecture. Thank you very much.
we give them another round of applause? This is the university's cultural troupe made up of students and staff, and they really do well. I now invite the Vice Chancellor and the Dean of the School of Medicine, Professor Frank Edwin, to robe our lecturer. Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor. Thank you, Professor Frank Edwin. Kindly take your seat. Now I invite Togbi, Professor Tagbor III, to deliver his lecture.
Good morning, everyone, and you are all welcome. You all woke up very early, and you were able to make it here from Accra, Way, Kaji, Avaji, and all the places, all the G's, and you've been able to make it here. I just want to thank you, those of you who travel from very far places. Thank you very much. And thank you, my Vice Chancellor. You have dug into my past and found things that I thought no one would know about. You've done very well. So now everybody knows me. Thank you very much. The Chairman of Council, members of Council, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Lydia Aziato, the representative of the Regional Minister, our Registrar, Ms. Ya Amankwa Opuni, the founding Vice Chancellor, Emeritus Professor Fred Nutibinka, I'm not sure he's here, our former Vice Chancellor, Professor John Osu, Japan, the regional directors, and representatives of government agencies here present. I can see the Regional Director of Health Service and the deputy seated. The President of the Volta Regional House of Chiefs, Togbi Agbashi Awusu II, the Afadada of the Anglon Duko here present, and the other chiefs that accompanied him here this morning. I also recognize our Chief of Sokode and all the other chiefs and commanders present. I recognize Reverend Father Isaac Benuyena and Reverend Father William Holu. Thank you for coming. Our deans and directors, faculty, staff, and students of this noble university, my dear wife and daughters here present, and my family who will always follow me wherever I go. Thank you for coming. Members of the media, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, I was promoted to the rank of full professor 5 years ago, in January 2019. To get to this point, I traveled many paths, guided, shaped, and morphed into one by God Almighty, to whom be the glory. Along the journey also, I met many wonderful people who also supported me, and I'll be mentioning them later on. I have practiced as a medical doctor. I've been a health services manager. I've managed projects, a public health specialist, a teacher, researcher, and academic leader, and now the Pro-Vice Chancellor of this noble university. Along the journey, I've had many experiences and learned a lot on those parts. But today, time will allow me to share only one of those lessons from my research work with you. The topic, slippery, smart, and dangerous plasmodium, but our women are smarter, is about malaria infection during pregnancy. Malaria in pregnancy has been my main research focus over the past 20 years. And from those research works, I have concluded that regardless of their socioeconomic circumstances, pregnant women are intelligent and have the mental capacity to differentiate between symptoms associated with pregnancy and those associated with malaria. And will seek appropriate help when necessary. When properly dialogued with, they accept and act on medical advice for their health and that of their babies. That is what I have learned along the line of my research. I did not start going to look for that, but in the course of time, I have come to realize that that is the case. We often think that once we know, we can throw anything at them, but actually, they know a lot. And I'll show you some of the work I did that really show that if we engage them, they will be able to do whatever we ask them to do. And so this is the outline of our presentation, a brief introduction into malaria in pregnancy, and I'll share with you findings from 3 research and tell you what I believe should be the way forward for malaria in pregnancy, and then I will conclude. And then the other thing I do, developing future malaria leaders. I also share with you what I've done in those areas, and I have a tall list of wonderful human beings who I will be saying thank you to after that. So, malaria is caused by parasites of the Plasmodium genus, and it is transmitted by the bites of infected female Anopheles mosquito, and it is potentially dangerous. It is life-threatening. That parasite, there are actually 5 species of the parasite. I will not bore you with their names, but the deadliest among them is the Plasmodium falciparum. That's the deadliest among them. And when it comes to malaria, one of the things we need to look at is to classify it. The classification tells us how we should manage it. And so you'll hear again, I wouldn't want to bore you, you'll hear about holoendemic, mesoendemic, hyperendemic, and so on. But what basically it means, if you can see the map, the more red you see the map, it means that the malaria is intense in those areas throughout the year. And so the way malaria behaves in pregnancy depends on where we find the woman. Naturally, residents in those areas with time develop immunity to malaria, such that as they grow, they no longer suffer from the severe forms of malaria. But it's not the same for pregnant women. It is different, because when a woman gets pregnant, they lose the immunity that they have acquired throughout life. They lose it. And so it is easy for them to suffer the severe forms of malaria. The other thing we know is that the parasites do not stay around the finger. You realize that when you go to the hospital, they will prick your finger. In terms of for malaria in pregnancy, when you prick, you tend not to find anything. At least that is what is written in the textbooks that we read. But I'll show you later that in my research, that is not what I found. And so pregnant women who are young and are pregnant for the first time, they suffer the severe forms of malaria. And to manage it, the WHO recommended 3 things that we can do for the pregnant women. Intermittent preventive treatment with sulfadoxine pyrimethamine, plus we ask the women to sleep regularly under bed nets, and that if they don't feel well, we diagnose promptly and we treat them. That is what is recommended. But we realize that not many women are able to have these for various reasons. Either they don't go for the services, or even when they go, the services are not available. And so in Ghana, for example, only about 6 in 10 women benefit from these. So sometime in the late 1990s and early 2000s, there was widespread resistance to the drug we were using at the time. Who remembers that? Chloroquine. and Fansida, SP. That's what we were using. But Fansida was still working for us here in Ghana, but chloroquine wasn't working. And therefore, there was a search for new drugs to manage malaria. And that is what I set out to do for the first time as a researcher in the field of malaria. And so we set out this trial, efficacy and safety of sulfadoxine, pyrimethamine, and amodiaquine in pregnant women. And this trial was registered at the clinicaltrials.gov. You can always go there and you'll find it, how we went about it. The trial was conducted at the St. Teresa's Hospital in Kuranza in the then Brown Afro region from March 2003 to 2005. It was some of the terms when I mention it, don't worry, it may not mean anything. For example, a 4-arm randomized double-blind clinical trial. Nobody will fail you if you cannot say what it is, at least for this lecture. And in that trial, we looked at amodiaquine, chloroquine, SP, or amodiaquine plus SP put as one drug. And in the picture that is coming up, this is a package of the drug, and it's double blind. So when we were doing this, I was not able to tell whether this was SP, chloroquine, or whatever. They all look the same to me and to the women. It's a manufacturer alone who knew what the drug was. And the reason is to avoid me going to tamper with the data. That is basically the reason. And the first dose and the subsequent doses, we made sure we saw the women take those medicines. And we had field workers who followed them to their homes to go and make sure that the rest of the medicines were taken, and also to check whether they were using the bed nets that we gave them or not. So that is what we did. This work formed the basis of my doctoral thesis in the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. And it was published in the Lancet in 2006. It was validated by systematic review by the Cochrane Library, when at the time, the total number of pregnant women studied at that time was 1,805. My study alone made up half of that number. And they went on to say that my study was the one that was well done and was well reported. So that was the validation. So what we actually found is that amodiaquine, yes, was better than the chloroquine, but adverse events were higher. 9 out of 10 women would vomit, would have nausea, would feel weak. But what we noticed was that nearly all of them finished their medicine. They finished the treatment. And so we wanted to find out why. The why is a setup here. When you go to the health facility, you are sent to the lab, or they come to the ward and they take your sample and take it somewhere. And you are brought the results and told that this is what you are suffering from. But what we did with a rapid diagnostic test, the woman was there and saw what we did. They saw the test and they actually asked what this means and all of that. So when they saw that they had malaria and they were asked to go and take this drug, no matter what the situation was, they tried to follow the treatment. That is what we found out. And so they were determined to follow through and to this lecture is that unlike what we knew at the time, that when pregnant women had malaria, there was no sign or symptom. That is what you read, even now. But we found that when the woman had malaria, there was actually signs and symptoms. And when you prick them, you actually find that they had malaria. And so we were wondering why we cannot do something about that. And that is what gave birth to the concept of intermittent screening and treatment, where because the rapid diagnosis test, the bands that you see, when you see the band, the pregnant woman knows that this band means that I have malaria. And when they know that they have malaria and they know that if they don't do anything about it, it will harm them and harm their baby. When you tell them that this is what you have to do to save yourself and your baby, they will normally do it. And so we started with a re-entry grant. I was then in the London School, and the Gates and Belinda Gates Foundation gave me some money for me to return. Because normally, people go out there to go and study, they finish, and they stay there. So for them to make sure that I return to Ghana, they have to give you some money for you to come back and start work. And that's what happened in my case. And so I started this study, intermittent preventive treatment versus rapid diagnostic testing and treatment of malaria in pregnancy. This trial was also registered, and the details are available when you go to clinicaltrials.gov. This was a 3-arm study. It was open label, it wasn't blinded, individually randomized, controlled, and non-inferiority trial. We'll try and explain what those mean. And so we have an intermittent preventive arm, and they received SP at every scheduled ANC visit. Then we have intermittent screening and treatment arm. There are 2 arms in that. One received SP, and one received amlodipine and artesunate. And we followed them through to the time they delivered. In total, we recruited 3,330 women, 1,110 in each arm. The SP was taken at the ANC, but the other drugs, the first dose was taken, the rest was taken at home. But we have trained people who went to their homes to go and make sure that they took those medicines. And at the end, when we looked at the data, we declared non-inferiority. What it means is that IST is as safe as IPT, effective as IPT. That's what we found. That when the women took that medication, they were not worse off. The babies they delivered, in terms of their birth weight, was similar to the women who took IPT. And that paper was published in PLOS ONE, and that was the first time that concept was mentioned. And if you go, you will not find this before 2010. This is a first. There were other works that were done to support the main study. And they found that IST was acceptable to both the pregnant women and the ANC staff. And what we have learned from this basically is that malaria in pregnancy is symptomatic, and that the symptoms are related. When you prick their finger, you actually find the malaria parasites in their blood, contrary to what was written at the time. And so, with another funding from the Wellcome Trust, we scaled up this study in West Africa. And again, the trial was duly registered, and we conducted this trial in West Africa, 4 countries, and I led the team to do that in those places: the Gambia, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Navrongo here in Ghana. We employed the same methods that we use because we want to be sure whether we're going to find the same things that we found in Ghana. And when that happened, this was the finding. IST was not inferior to IPT. And if you look at the mean birth weight for the IST and the IPT, they look the same. In actual fact, all the women who were screened throughout pregnancy who didn't have any malaria at all, we analyzed their data as well with those who took SP. And again, the same thing we saw. And so we knew that when they had malaria, they will actually have the symptom. In actual fact, one of the things in this study is that those women visited ANC more than women in the IPT arm. When they had, and anytime they visited the ANC and the blood sample was checked, they actually had malaria. And so we have to begin to think about what we have read. We look at the HB at term, and it's also the same. That the mean HB for women in the IPT arm and those in the IST arm was the same. Placenta malaria, we looked also at the placenta, and the level is the same for both groups. Sometimes there were fewer in the women in the IST arm than we have in the IPT arm. And again, this was published in 2015, and there were other works that were done based on that study. So while this was going on, the WHO noticed it and wanted to be sure what was going on. So there was a workshop, and I was invited to that workshop to present my findings, and not me alone. The whole team went to present our findings. The WHO listened carefully to us. They looked at the evidence we had, and they put their verdict in this document. You can look up this document. Their verdict was that the evidence we had at the time was not sufficient for them to replace IPT with IST. That is fair, that is science. And so we have to move on. But I believe strongly that intermittent screening and treatment of malaria in pregnancy is the future for the control of malaria in pregnancy. The RDT is good. It's a visual aid and a communication tool. What we need now is to make sure that if there's anything we can do to make them more sensitive so that they can detect malaria at any density, we need to do that. Last year, there was a study. It's a systematic review and meta-analysis, and I've highlighted what they saw or what they claim is their belief. They find what we know about malaria, that the transmission of malaria is going down. If we want to get rid of malaria, then we need to look for the malaria and treat it, and not to be doing anything else apart from that. But I have moved on, and I believe that with time, the evidence will be there. More people are going to do that, and the evidence maybe in the future will be enough for the WHO to look at it again. So I move on now to talk about developing future malaria research leaders. I belong to networks that look for funding to train scientists to do malaria research. One of them is the MCDC. This was funded by the Wellcome Trust, and with that funding, we recruited 4 PhDs who successfully went through and finished their PhDs in about 2015. We have Dr. Alberta Quarte, who is working at the Dodowa Research Center. Dr. Ampofo, who is in the School of Medicine here in UHAS. Dr. Victor Swala, working in the Navrongo Health Research Center. Dr. Safo, who is also here working in the School of Medicine. After that, we had another funding through the MACAD, and again, in Ghana, we sponsored 2 postdoctoral fellows, Dr. Ampofo and Dr. Matilda Abrese Ako, and who did their postdocs with me here in UHAS. About that time, we also offered PhD fellowships to Mrs. Doris Autry and Mrs. Virtue de Gaulle Fiao-Coman. And they are also nearing the end of their PhDs. We currently also have another funding, again from the Wellcome Trust and the partners. And with this funding, we have recruited 2 postdoc fellows, Dr. Emi Gay from Senegal and Dr. Assem from UHAS. For PhD, we have Dr. Diomercy Lupaka from DRC and Ms. Angela Akon, who currently hold PhD fellowships here in UHAS. With that funding also, we are able to support master's students, 5 master's students, to do their project work and be able to write their thesis. And these, here they are. I don't know all their names, but these are their photos. You can see, I believe they are here. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this is what I have done up to this point that I believe is something that is worth. I'll now go on to mention the wonderful people I met along the line. First, I want to thank God, my Creator, to whom be the glory. I want to mention the church who has supported my faith, and we have my parish priest here, the former one and the new one. My bishop is not here, but some of the church members are here. Tagbor, Mamao, I want to thank you very much for all the support that you gave me and you are still giving me, that you woke up, I'm sure around 3 a.m. and traveled all this way to be here before we start the function. Thank you very much. Then I attended the only secondary school in this country. Keta Secondary School. I can see somebody from Mauli saying why. Yes. Keta Secondary School is the secondary school. I wanted to tease some of our chiefs who know the school but really didn't attend that school. The only person I know who attended the school is Togbi Agbashi Awusu II, the Avadada of Anglon. Togbi Akolache knows the school, but did not attend it. Then I was also at Bishop Herman, BH, the college in Ghana. There's only one. The college. There are others who also have that, but they are not. And those are my formative years. and I enjoyed being there. The lessons I learned, very useful. And welcome our regional minister, Honorable Dr. Yao Archibald Lecha. Welcome. Then I want to mention this wonderful gentleman, my supervisors at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. Professor Sir Brian Greenwood and Professor Daniel Chandra Mohan. They changed me. They pushed me to my limit. And by the time I finished, I became a different person. And they have been with me up to date. They are great people. I send them the link to watch. So Brian and Daniel, if you are watching, thank you to you. Another young man, Professor Eric Wood. Professor Wood, I say, woke me up. I joined the KNUST in 2006. And in 2011, I was running around doing service, traveling, doing research, conferences all over the place, and forgot that I have to apply to become a senior lecturer, professor, associate professor, and professor. So I was just running around. So at Legon, on the 7th of February, I remember it very well because of some other things. 2011, after my presentation, snack break, Professor Wood called me and said, "What is your rank in this university?" I said, "I'm a lecturer." Lecturer? And you are doing this? When we leave here, go and take a form and apply for promotion. Professor Wood, please, let's see you. Thank you very much. So it was a time, something changed in me. I started thinking about myself from that time on. And the rest, I am today a full professor, thanks to him. My time at the School of Medical Sciences, KNUST, I met 3 deans, wonderful people, Prof. Agbenyegan, Professor Danso, Professor Yao, Edu Sakodie. These also supported me very much. I actually enjoyed working with them over there. And it was great. And they all still follow me up. And I just want to believe that the professors will do that to the younger ones as well here. Then I had a call from Emeritus Professor Fred Newton Binker one afternoon. I think it was around 1 p.m. Will you consider coming to head our School of Medicine? I was not sure what I was hearing. My wife was a visiting scholar here at the time, or she finished. So she called, when he called me, I was wondering what. So I said, "Prof, I'll call you back." So I called him again, And he said, yes, that's what I said. I said, don't you have a dean? He said, if we had, we wouldn't say come. So I resisted. He asked me to come home to Accra, and he gave me lunch. And over lunch, we talked again. And he has a nice way of getting you to agree. That time, whilst that was going on, the chairman of council also was calling. And Professor Binka said, if you also have refused to come and serve your people, who will do it for you? That really hit hard at me. So I said, Prof, I will come. And I came, and here I am today. Thank you. And this gentleman, sometimes he wears beard, and other times he doesn't. I wasn't sure whether I'll meet him with a beard or without a beard this morning. And so I brought the two pictures. Fortunately, he's not wearing a beard today. So I met him, I think around 2003 or 2002, before I started my project work. Before I left London, I was told that the Health Research Unit, there are some London School alumni there. They don't give chance. So you must be sure that your proposal is right. So I came back to Ghana, and I went to Accra, Adabaraka. Fortunately, I met Prof there. We sat and we talked, and he said, no problem. I went, and I had a call from the secretary that I just needed to do a few things to the proposal. And after I did that, I got approval for me to go on with my study. Prof, thank you very much. And as fate will have it, we met here again in UHAS, and he was my vice chancellor, and when I was dean of the medical school, and also I served him as a pro-vice chancellor his last year of being a vice chancellor. Professor Japon, thank you very much. Then now I have Professor Lydia Aziato, who is our new vice chancellor. She's called Professor One. She wouldn't take any excuse. Her pressure was gentle but intense. And she would smile. Anytime I said, Prof, I'll think about it, she will smile. That's why I don't know whether you have this photo. You don't have it? Okay. So this is the way you did all the time. Anytime I said, I'll think about it, you smiled. And I'm standing here today delivering my lecture. Prof. One, thank you. You have a Professor One, and we have a Registrar One. Miss Ya Amankwa Opuni is our new registrar, and they have their way of putting pressure on you. And you have your vice chancellor being a female, your registrar being a female, and you are in there. So they have a way to make sure that things get done. And it's always been very great working with the two wonderful ladies. Thank you very much, VC. Thank you very much, Registrar. I have also, since I came here, I think from 2018, I've been a member of council. And we have here, I'm honored to have His Lordship, Justice Jones Maulom Doche here. Thank you, Chairman of Council and members of Council. Also here, I can see Mrs. Lucy Ayer, Dr. Makameho, Professor Asamoah. Thank you all for coming. Convocation, I thank you for all the support you've given me so far. And the medical school, it was tough over there, those years. And I thank you very much for all the cooperation. Although I pushed you sometimes to the limit, you worked with me, and by the grace of God, we graduated the first medical doctors from Ho, not from Accra, not from anywhere. That is a message that the medical schools that followed, they will either go to UG and elsewhere to go and finish. But we were determined that we were not going anywhere. We will graduate all our doctors from here, and we're able to do that, and we are still doing that. So, faculty and staff of the School of Medicine, thank you very much. And I have Dr. Ampofo and Dr. Joseph Osafo. These two guys have helped me a lot. They held the fort for me, and they were the people I sent to the field to go and supervise my research work, and they always did that gladly for me. I thank you very much. I don't know where they are sitting, but thank you very much for all that you've done for me. And the MACAD team, the MACAD 1 team also, I thank you for all the work. My friends, family, thank you all for your support. And my beautiful wife and beautiful daughters, I thank you for, I knew that most of the time I was away, traveling, but you held the fort. And now we have grown-ups with us, adults. And thank you so much for all the work you did for us to get here. My parents, God gave me to the world through them. And with your help, I have become who I am today, Togbi Professor Tagbor III. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think
Thank you very much, the University Choir. We'll now do some presentations. We'll start with the council chairman. MCDC. Market 1 should get ready. Market 1. The choir can give us some background music.
So, Togbi, Professor, this is a small token to show our appreciation for what you are to us and what you've been to us, for the inspiration that you are to us and helping us to start our path in academia. We want to say thank you very much from your fellows of MCDC. Thank you.
Thank you for showing us that the African is capable and for leading the way. You've been our star, and we are grateful and privileged to be able to associate ourselves with you and to learn from you. So we have this token to show our gratitude and our respect.
Market Plus. That's the PhD and master's student. Market Plus. Navrongo Health Research Center should get ready, as well as Community Health Department, School of Medicine. And then School of Medicine should also get ready.
Learning and our growth. We want to express our heartfelt gratitude to you. Thank you very much.
Navongo Health Research Center. Community Health Department, School of Medicine. The School of Medicine.
So we, on behalf of the School of Medicine, faculty and staff, we present this citation of honor to Tagbor Tagbor III. It reads, "For your sustained excellence in academic leadership and dedication to promoting medical education in line with the vision and mission of the School of Medicine, UHAS, we say Ayiko. Your countless success stories led to a solid foundation for the School of Medicine. We appreciate your consistent efforts to develop faculty as career academics to achieve more than you have done." Thank you.
The Tagbor family. Office of the Pro Vice Chancellor should get ready.
Thank you. Professor Tagbor will forever be with you all the time as a family. We thank God for your life, and we pray that you lead us to higher heights. We are very proud of you, and will continue to be proud of you. Thank you.
Office of the Pro Vice Chancellor, UAS. Senior management of UAS. Novinho Association. After that, Novici.
Citation in honor of Professor Tagbor III by Novinho Association. On this momentous occasion of your inaugural lecture, the Novinho Association proudly presents this citation to you, Professor Harry Tagbor, known in your esteemed traditional role as Tagbor III, Fia of Cedi in the Volta region of Ghana. Professor Tagbor III. Your journey epitomizes the synergy of academic brilliance and cultural stewardship. As the Pro-Vice-Chancellor of University of Health and Allied Sciences, UHAS, your leadership has been a beacon of innovation and academic excellence, fostering a culture of research, learning and teaching, and community engagement that resonates with your commitment to improving health outcomes and education in Ghana. As Tagbor III, you have embraced the responsibilities of traditional leadership with the same dedication and vision that mark your academic career. The stool of Cedi, which lay vacant for 38 years, now flourishes under your guidance. Your initiatives in education, infrastructure, and cultural preservation have revitalized the community, creating a legacy that honors both your ancestors and future generations. Your role as a patron of the Novinho Association underscores your commitment to fostering unity, cultural pride, and social development. Your support and patronage have empowered our association to strive for excellence and contribute meaningfully to our society. Today, as we gather to celebrate your inaugural lecture, we acknowledge your dual contribution to academia and traditional leadership. Your exemplary life is a testament to the profound impact that one individual can have on both intellectual and cultural landscapes. We, the members of Novinho Association, extend our deepest respect and gratitude to you, Professor Tagbor III. Your achievements inspire us, and your leadership continues to guide us towards a future of health, knowledge, and cultural pride. Mausoja na tuchinao, apoenafa, benafa, dagbenava, novinho, magafakplio, novinho, amatoyona, aiko.
Thank you very much. Behind every successful man, there is a woman who invites the wife and children.
So, Daddy, Professor Tagbor, Tagbor the third, Daddy, we just thank God for the gift of you, for continuing to inspire us to continue to go on to greater heights. And today, as we congratulate you, we thank God for your life and for the inspiration you have always been. Thank you.
We'll call on the Director of Public Affairs, Ms. Maria Jura, to give some acknowledgements. Let's put our hands together for her.
Thank you, Mr. Bafo. Would like to acknowledge, I believe Tagbor himself obviously has already acknowledged almost everyone, but this is being done on behalf of the university. We're so grateful that you made time out of your day to be with us to celebrate this, our Vice Chancellor, of whom we are so proud. And so I would like to thank Justice Victor Jones, Maulom Doche, Council Chair, UHAS. Give him a hand. Thank you, sir. Dr. Mark Ameho, Council Member, and Mrs. Lucy Aye, also Council Member. Professor Kwame Asamoah, Council Member. Thank you. I'd like to also acknowledge and thank Professor John Owusu Japong, immediate past Vice Chancellor of the university. We want to acknowledge and thank Dr. Mrs. Trinity Tagbor of CSIR and lovely daughters representing the family here. Honorable Dr. Archibald Yaolecha, Regional Minister, Volta Region. Professor Rudith King, KNUST. Dr. Kofi Ashiboy Mensah, Ho Technical University. Dr. Chrysanthus Kubio, Regional Director, Ghana Health Service, Volta Region. And Dr. Kwesi Jokoto, Deputy Regional Director of Health, Volta Region. All members of the clergy present, Togbe Fia Koku III, Paramount Chief of Sokode Traditional Area, all other traditional leaders present, and also specifically Togbe Fianku III, Togbe Salu III, Togbe Kwajodo I, Togbe Agbeve III, and Dufia Kajahlo Drabese IV. Thank you all for your presence. I also want to give a special thanks to the planning committee that I chaired for all your hard work, which is manifested here today. And I am honored to have chaired that committee. Prof, we are so proud of you and thank you for your inspiring message. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director of Public Affairs. So the Vice Chancellor has requested a special song from the choir for our Togbi Professor Tagbor III. So choir. Thank you very much. The university choir is also made up of students and staff for this great university. All too soon, we are nearing the end of this ceremony. I wish we never close. I invite the Vice Chancellor, Professor Lydia Ziato, to give us her closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Madam Registrar, and we thank God for a day like this, and we thank everyone that was able to make it. For the sake of my regional minister who missed the lecture narrowly, I would reiterate a few things just for a take-home, but I will encourage my minister to read the abstracts of the lecture in the booklet. Our lecturer, in fact, when I read some of his papers, I was wondering how he was going to summarize or bring it to the level of the audience, because clinical trials presentations of findings are presented in very technical ways to meet the standard. And with the journals that he published in, you don't expect anything less. But his delivery today was at my level. My level means that I'm not a malaria or clinical trial scientist. And I just want to review a few for my minister's sake and for those who came in late. My Pro-Vice Chancellor reiterated that when we engage our participants, in his case, the women, the adherence to what you need to do as a researcher is high. He gave an example of the woman being present when the test was done. They could see it, and they could see the results. So then they were committed to take the medications thereof, and they were committed to use the treated nets thereof. His work, because of the funding I mentioned from the beginning when I introduced him, the evidence that people followed up the participants, that the data was not cooked, was here for all of us to see. He gave live pictures of the field work that they took the blood sample, and we saw those on the motorbike go into the field. For those of you who will be able to go to where the exhibition is done, there is a video that's chronicled what he told us today. And in the video are live evidence or messages that you can all see. And that I am very happy about. Our professor also emphasized that the Plasmodium falciparum is the deadliest of all the female mosquito species. Now, the title was female or woman, and now the mosquito that is also causing the trouble is also female Anopheles mosquito. So it's like there's a blend between woman, female fighting the woman and the insects. Whatever it is, he has trained a lot of malaria researchers. What I'll be interested in the future inaugural lecture in malaria is how, for example, I am AS sickle cell carrier, so I don't get malaria often. But when I was pregnant with my second child or so, I had malaria. And that goes to substantiate the low immunity he mentioned, that pregnant women are more at risk because of the lowered immunity when we are pregnant. And that, it was just 1+ or something, but I really felt ill. So I was just wondering those who have 2+, 3+, how it will be. And being a nurse, I've nursed women who died in pregnancy due to severe malaria. They were unconscious and they never woke up. So this area of research is very important. So I'll be interested in finding out whether women who are hypertensives, diabetics, women with other diseases, the story will be different from what our professor researched. In the inaugural lecture this morning, he also showed evidence of his work that was upscaled beyond the borders of Ghana to the West African sub-region. He showed us a map that gave us a clear picture of the malaria endemic areas. And the African map, you could see clearly that Ghana is one of them. What I was very much impressed about was the recognition by WHO to invite his team to Switzerland to make a presentation. Even though the evidence was not enough for WHO to make a firm decision, the recognition alone that your work has been recognized at that level of global nature is very, very, very impressive. Now, for me, the take home that I am going away with is the 3 approaches that WHO recommended, or his work also supported. The fact that we should prevent it, so the grants or his work made room for prevention. The fact that the test should not be done only once. We should test before we treat. For some of us, once we are sick, we haven't gone to the lab, but we know our body, so we say, I have malaria, you know. But our professor is saying that we should test before we treat. One other thing that I am very, very happy about is the fact that the drugs or the medications that the woman took did not have any adverse effects on them or the baby. And it means that for some of us, when we are sick, we are afraid that there will be side effect of the medication, so we wait until the disease is very severe before we go to the hospital. And that, I think, is not good enough. So our professor's lecture is drawing our attention to early treatment so that our baby and ourselves as women will be preserved. I cannot end this without a call to my faculty and other professors here that our grants should make room for master's PhD fellowships. His work brought to us here in UHAS, Matilda at IHR, Gifty at medical school, and all the people he mentioned. Let us fit in there some 1 or 2 master's PhDs fellowships, so that once they work with us, I'm sure that they will be not tempted, they will be enticed to stay and work. Overall, our professor made a decision when he was called by the foundation vice-chancellor. And I'm sure that our mother encouraged him to come. I'm sure that what he was doing in Kumasi was so sensational or had taken roots, but he left and came to UHAS. And I want to thank Professor Tagbor III for agreeing to come to help at the medical school, for the hard work that led to the graduation of the first batch of doctors from this university. And to all the partners he acknowledged. As a university, we say that without you, we wouldn't have had such a pro-vice-chancellor that has left his mark in this university. I am tempted to say that the future malaria experts that he trained, I'm giving you the next 7 to 10 years to come here and also deliver your inaugural lecture. It is possible. It is possible. It is possible. It is possible. Before I leave here, 10 a.m., not 11 anymore, 10 a.m., on the 25th of next month, July, we will travel to Nigeria. Our Professor Omotayo, who came to help us start our School of Sports and Exercise Medicine, will be giving his inaugural lecture. Inaugural lectures are given on exits of an academic who attained the full professor status. Professor Omotayo, for health reasons, is retiring from academia this year, and he will be mounting the podium to give his inaugural lecture. On the 3rd of October, we'll travel to Cote d'Ivoire. Our Professor Kwame Banga, who schooled mostly in Cote d'Ivoire, so he has a very solid French background, will also mount this podium to give his inaugural lecture. And we are expecting that our professors who are They are also waiting in the background. Professor Mohe will take the seat next year. We are saying that we are growing. We have not grown yet, but we are growing. I'm looking forward to a situation where in a year we'll have 12 inaugural lectures. Every month there'll be inaugural lecture. Anyway. So on this note, we want to thank you very much. I know somebody will come and thank you again. My registrar is always doing the thanking. But we are very happy that you came. And for the traditional leaders that traveled at dawn to come here early, we are very, very grateful. You didn't keep us waiting. You were on time, and we are grateful. Today, our convocation, the numbers are overwhelming. Please, 25th, let us all come like this. It's beautiful. Thank you so much. And our regional minister, you are always with us. God bless you. Thank you.
On this note, we'd like to thank God Almighty for giving us such a beautiful weather and a beautiful day to celebrate one of our own. This has been a historic day indeed. We are thankful to all of you, everyone acknowledged, for making time and the traveling and everything you have lost to join us here for this ceremony. We are mostly grateful to you. My namesake, our landlord, we are so grateful to you for always joining us and gracing the occasion. Those online, the program was streamed online on our various social media networks. We say thank you for staying through with us. The choir, we are very grateful for always treating us to your harmonious music. The University Cultural Troupe also did their best and treated us. Our Queen Mothers who traveled with our Togbis also treated us with something wonderful and special. We are so grateful to all of you. Our chairman of the University Council, sir, we are mostly grateful to you. The members of the University Council, those who traveled from Accra and beyond, and members who are in the university, we are very, very grateful to you. Family of Togbi, Professor Tagbor III, he mentioned that you have been with him throughout, and today you were graciously blessed with your presence. We are most appreciative. To everybody here, I cannot mention everyone. We say thank you and God bless you for being with us. On this note, I call Mr. Bafo to give us a few announcements from here, what we should be doing. Thank you.
Please, let's take note of these following announcements. All chiefs, senior management, invited guests, council members, deans, and directors will meet at the Pro Vice Chancellor's residence, up and close to Sky Plus Hotel. Members of convocation will meet at the foyer of the council chamber. All students will go to the forecourt of SBBS Auditorium. All leaders of the choir, protocol team, cultural troupe, ICT should see Madam Ivy in the council chamber. Thank you. Let's kindly rise for the US anthem. We shall remain standing for recession. A found pair of keys, a lost owner. Please kindly take time to visit the exhibition of Prof. Tagbor's works just at the IAC lounge on top of the council chamber. The works of Prof. Tagbor is still open. The exhibition is still open at the IAC lounge. So please take time and pass by. Members of convocation will follow and invited guests will follow. The exhibition is still ongoing at the IAC lounge on top of the council chamber. There are directional signs. Students, go to the forecourt of the SBVS Auditorium. PAUD